I wonder if the thing which links those two is the issue of authenticity, whether that's a better category than either authority or, if you like, truthfulness.
Authenticity is a useful word, yes, yes. I mean, people have often said to me, oh, we need a kite marking system for websites, so you can put a little label on a website that can be trusted. Well, yeah, that falls apart after the first 5 seconds of thinking about it, doesn't it? First you're going to ask who's going to put the kite marks there, and then you're going to ask how you're going to stop the next person nicking them and putting them on their site. But yet authenticity is an issue. Anne?
I think another word that goes in this area, I mean, people don't like the word authority and they react against it because they think it has certain baggage. So I think a more useful word can be accountability. How are we accountable in a space where we don't really know where we are or what we're doing or who we're doing it with? And another thing is, what is our responsibility? Because it can get very much about what I want to do, you know, how I'm being fulfilled by doing this stuff. What is our responsibility? Because we all know, without a doubt, that vulnerable people get involved, they get out of their depth. Many of us will have had the experience of being involved in an online argument, and actually that hurts, possibly more than an offline argument does. What is our responsibility if we're drawing people into this sort of stuff? You know, it's okay to go around saying, oh, I'm an evangelist, whatever. It's like, what's my responsibility if I'm encouraging people to engage with me?
Well, you're talking about responsibility as a producer of content. But there are two people in this relationship, aren't there? There's the producer and there's the consumer. And presumably they both have responsibility.
I'm talking about my responsibility as somebody saying I'm part of a church.
Yes.
And if we're saying that this space may be somehow different from being under jurisdiction in an offline church, then the question is, if it is different, how do we work out what our responsibility is for getting people involved in very, very volatile stuff?
Navin from the Church of England.
Can we use the mic? Can we chuck the microphone to Navin? Thank you. Navin works for the Archbishop's Council in the Church of England as webmaster.
Hi. To do with one of the things to do with authenticity is transparency. In terms of it's so easy to hide your identity online and have different accounts in different places and different social networks and things like that. And I think one of the things that we need to do as Christians and as a church is to be transparent and be the same person we are online as we are offline. And so if you meet me on Facebook, you're not going to meet a different person as you are going to meet me on Twitter, and that's not going to be completely different to who you would meet me if you were to meet me in the street. I think that's something that we need to nail down, because too often people will change who they are in different places.
Okay, so there's one suggestion there that it's important for us to be a single person, even if we're in multiple contexts. Others might want to debate that. I mean, I'd like to put that down as an item for debate.
Could I just say, I think that is debatable, because we are different people at different times.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean, just because I'm being more playful on one side, or actually developing a persona, an online persona, doesn't necessarily mean I'm tricking people, or, you know, I think it's important that we allow people to be more creative and imaginative in how they respond to each
Then what
other.
separates you from just Joe Blogs on the street doing it?
I think it's a bit of an old debate. I'm surprised, actually. I think this is something that's been talked about a lot, and I think the church has always come down on the kind of safety issue on this, which is, I know there's an argument to be had there, but I think there's a counter-argument on the creative side as well.
I'd quite like to have that argument the next couple of days, actually. I'd be interested to hear about that. Rich, can we...
Yeah, I can't turn this thing on to myself, but what you're saying about responsibility made me think about another thing of responsibility, is how my online responsibility affects offline welfare. And so, for example, I've got a Facebook friend who's a prisoner in Cairo, and actually in terms of his day-to-day welfare of food and such like, actually being linked suddenly to lots of people across the world who have real-life needs as well as online needs. How does that kind of affect my social responsibility as a member of the church?
That's interesting. I mean, one of the experiences, I think, of most online Christian community is that mission and service doesn't come very easily from an online community. I don't know, that might be debatable. You can do lots of other things in an online community, but actually service and mission is quite good. Just pick up on what Kate's saying here, over the pond. It depends if you think authority is about control. I don't. I think it's about authenticity. Thanks, Kate. We got there. Slightly after you. Are we different people, she says at the top, or just different sides of person coming out? Well, that's something like what Simon is saying, I think. But I think there are some core questions about identity that I would like to see agenda for discussion. Anything else? Another direction that somebody would like to take us in? David at the back, and then we'll come to Lorraine.
In a sense, it's the other side of authenticity, because a lot of this discussion is in a way we're being naive. We're not facing the fact that others might like to steal our authenticity, our values, our persona, and use it for other reasons. So how do we help people discern where, as it were, there is dangerous traffic coming in that's pretending to be authentically Christian?
Yes, and that's the flip side of responsibility. There's the responsibility of the producer, and there's the responsibility of the consumer, which maybe we need to be helping people develop. Lorraine, did you want to say something?
I'm in Second Life. People know me either as Rosita or Sophia. Hi. Yes, I go in as my authentic self, but I am portrayed usually in the ball gown. I also have children who are very much into the digital world, and I'm finding myself becoming Mary Whitehouse, just as Mary Whitehouse was defending her family and Christian values as the media started to manifest itself in television. I'm beginning to find myself doing that, and I can't protect them. I don't think we can protect them, but I think we have a moral responsibility as Christians to go out with some moral understanding, to empower children as well as each other, to actually deal with these problems that do come up. And I'm sorry, they are huge problems. I'm not going to pinch my husband's thunder, but he will tell you he could tell you some of the things he's been doing online, which actually shocks some people.
Well, I think empowering children is quite an interesting idea to have around for a conference like this. So thank you. Bex, do you want to say a word?
Oh, I've seen a few people on Twitter over the last few days. I was just thinking, I was speaking to someone earlier about the whole idea of digital natives, digital immigrants and digital aliens. I don't know how many other people have all heard those phrases, but I just think they're quite important that they're circulating as part of the conference discussions. So most young kids, they all live their lives quite happily online, they don't care what they put on it, they don't want to be protected particularly, they'll shove whatever they like on there. Immigrants, they say, tend to be 35-ish and above, so kind of borderlining into that, but I think I'm a native. And tended to have to use computers and things for work, and so sort of use the bits they have to. May be quite keen, but I think you can be a native and still be over 35. And then aliens are people like my dad who won't go anywhere near the computer.
An alien just waved at you from the back of the hall.